invocation, and following we will have a short ceremony remembering those who have served and are no longer with us for this ceremony.
It is indeed a privilege to be here with you today to call down God's blessing on this beautiful park. It is a fitting memorial to the many men and women who gave generously of their time and energy to help the people of Johnsburg and Pistaki area. People who serve others as the squad did remind me of the saying of Jesus, "Greater love no one has than to lay down their life for someone else." And this should be a powerful example and a high motivation for the rest of us to look around for opportunities to serve our sisters and brothers. So with this in mind, let us pray. Heavenly Father, be with us today as we honor the men and women of the Johnsburg Rescue Squad, and as we celebrate the memory of the heroic work they did for those of us most in need of help. Bless them, their families and friends who supported them, and their successors today to continue the wonderful tradition of service to our community. Let's serve as a force for love and unity within our community, and let those of us who enjoy its beauty be inspired to serve others in need. And we ask this through Jesus Christ, our Lord. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
And now let us remember those who have died and pray for their souls.
Ronald Adams, Reverend Leo Bartel, John Beckman, Darrell Burkhoff, Reverend Joseph Blitch, Richard Frederick, Clemens Friend, Harold Friend, James Friend, William Hague Sr., Edwin H. Hederman, Gerald Hederman, Mary Hederman, Henry Hiller, Joseph Himpelman, Frederick Heeman, Joseph Jacks, Lester Klotz Jr., Leroy Marshall, Richard Marshall, Elmer Myers, William Myers, Elder Effeling, Lloyd Effeling, Hal Paul, Edward Roble, Richard Rudolph, Carl Salas, Gerald Schmidt, William Schmidt, John Stone, Kelvin Taylor, and Gerald Walkish.
One of our founding members, Al Gaddens, I asked to say some words today. He couldn't make it, he's a little ill, but two of his daughters, Linda and Katie, I believe, are here, and they'd like to say a few words.
My father was asked to speak today, but he's not well, and we're going to speak on his behalf. He was one of the original founding members of the Johnsburg Rescue Squad. I sat down with him yesterday and asked him to share some of his stories that I can maybe share some of those facts with you today. As you all know, the McHenry County's first rescue squad was established in 1952. and it started as a group of young men sitting around having a beer, and came up with the idea to start a first aid unit to handle emergencies for the Johnsburg area. There were originally 9 members, and my father, Albert Adams, was one of them. Kenny Hampshire and Elby are the only 2 living original members. To raise funds to start the envisioned first aid unit, the members went door to door to collect donations. The members were able to finance a 1952 Chevrolet bare panel truck equipped with a stretcher, first aid pads, and bandages. They had a respirator and made their own drag for drownings. The original truck was kept mainly at Heeman's garage. Their first call was a fatal farming accident. The nearest hospital was in Woodstock. They practiced by the river, as many calls would be for water rescue, a drowning, or a boating accident. They also responded to auto accidents. They had a system to call 1130 to Dorothy Adams, my mother, or Mary Hederman. Ed Hederman had the switch that sounded the siren. Dorothy and Mary called the other members of the team to join up to respond to the call. Due to limited communications at that time, the team never really knew what they would find when responding. They started an annual dance to generate funds needed to maintain the unit. They again went door to door selling tickets to the dance. Funds were raised to purchase new equipment. As the community recognized the need for first aid, volunteers came forward, and eventually the team grew to 90 members. My dad, Albie, delivered the first baby and became known as the delivery man. And the team made sure he was on the delivery calls. He also was first of 2 members that learned how to stitch up wounds. They really were advanced, first-time aiders in their time. Start breathing, stop bleeding, check for fractures. That's what they did. At the end of the call, they would come back to the garage and have a beer, the way it all started, a group of volunteers having a beer together. Thank you.
Good job.
Probably the best speaker of the bunch, Mr. May, Harry May, going to do a little add to some history here. We'll do a better job, but the Adams girls sure did a great job, so we're glad they showed up today.
The girls stole my thunder and provided all of the little intricacies that went on in the rescue squad. I'll just try to summarize the general history. Founded and organized in September of 1952, as they mentioned, we had 12 community-minded citizens: Dick Marshall, Albie Adams, John Stone, Bill Schmidt, Harry Friend, Clemens Friend, Gerald Hederman, Fred Heeman, Ken Hampshire, who I want to introduce now, who is here today, the second living member of the original 12. Kenny, nice to have you here. Also among those 12 were Joel Himpelman, Jerry Rutledge, and Lloyd Effling. It was very important to those members to, in their organization, to have bylaws. I know Jerry Rutledge was a stickler about that. And their purpose at that time was for organizing was to develop and maintain an emergency volunteer rescue squad service for the Johnsburg, Pistaki, Sunnyside, and McHenry area, including but not limited to the purchase and maintenance of emergency equipment, the training of volunteer workers, and such other acts as are necessary to create and operate a rescue service to act in emergencies involving accidents on water and land. All organizational funds came from residents and business donations. In 1953, March, the group incorporated under the Illinois General Not-for-Profit Corporation Act, becoming the Johnsburg Rescue Squad, becoming the first corporate rescue squad in the state of Illinois. They purchased their first vehicle, as the girls mentioned. Shortly after organizing this fundraiser, they began and ordered the 1952 Chevy Phantom truck displayed back here today and on our memorial. It was purchased and equipped with state-of-the-art inhalator, necessary first aid equipment, and a transport gurney. This vehicle continues to be used as a parade vehicle, reminding people that Johnsburg was the first county and first state chartered rescue squad. Originally, the truck that they also mentioned was housed at Heeman's in the building currently occupied by Pitson's Auto Repair. In 1956, the members had the foresight and saw the necessity for a building of their own. The members purchased a piece of land centrally located in downtown Johnsburg. On August 28, 1960, a parade and dedication ceremony celebrated the completion of that building, currently housing the Johnsburg Police Department. The original cost established by the building committee of the rescue squad was $7,800. That was for the materials that weren't donated. There was no cost for labor on that project. All labor was provided by the local tradesmen, contractors, and they did it all on a volunteer basis. In 1980, the building was remodeled to accommodate the expanded vehicle fleet and equipment. A rededication ceremony was held with state, county, and local officials highlighting the squad's continued service to the community. The second vehicle was purchased in 1965. Some of you may remember that Pontiac ambulance. That was a quicker vehicle and provided a little bit quicker transportation to the hospitals. The third vehicle was purchased in 1971. That was a Chevy van that was completely designed, fabricated, and constructed under the leadership of member Bill Schwartzlaw. The fourth and fifth vehicles that were purchased by the squad were the modular units, their design of which we still see operating as rescue vehicles today. These units that were purchased from a manufacturer in Florida were driven home by squad members to put them in service. And in May and August of 1976, those two vehicles became active. The Pontiac ambulance was retired at that time and sold. Training. Training was very important to the members, as the girls mentioned. The original training was provided by the American Red Cross, and all members were required to pass standard and advanced Red Cross first aid training. EMT training began in the middle 70s, and the Johnsburg squad again was at the forefront of advanced training. Squad members Harry Powers, Bob Meyer, and Chuck Majersic were the first squad registered emergency medical technician paramedics. EMT training continued for all members and allowed for more advanced on-the-scene life-saving techniques. On August 17, 1975, members held a dedication ceremony for a plaque to honor the deceased members of the squad. That memorial dedication is still located at the police department. The 25th anniversary, on October 2nd, 1977, celebrated 25 years for the squad. Again, dignitaries from the state, county, and neighboring towns participated in honoring the volunteer organization. Outstanding community service for 25 years. Johnsburg Rescue Squad's immediate and quick response and quality first aid service were highlighted. Fundraising was something that was necessary for the squad over its entire existence. Funds were generated, as the girls mentioned, through sticker sale, vehicle sticker sales. Door-to-door solicitation in the Johnsburg, Sunnyside, Pistaki Highlands, and Pistaki Bay areas occurred annually, and there are many stories that can be told about those collection events. Additionally, the Rescue Squad dance was held and to raise more funds for the squad. This event was the fall social event of the year. Many of you may remember the necessity to put up a huge tent on the north side of the community club to accommodate the number of people that attended. Then in 1989, as the number of rescue squad calls increased and the sophistication of training required advanced beyond what volunteers members could provide. The emergency medical services that were necessary were taken over by the McHenry Township Fire Protection District as they exist now. After 37 years of voluntary medical services provision, the rescue squad dissolved. Assets of the squad, however, were turned into a trust account to be returned to the Johnsburg-Pistaki community. The Johnsburg Rescue Squad Retired Inc. was formed to manage the distribution of those funds. The fund distribution since that occurred are as follows. The squad provided food baskets for the needy at Christmas. Over $72,000 in scholarships were provided to Johnsburg, Marion, Carmel, and Grant students living in that original service area of the rescue squad if they pursued careers in the medical field. Funds provided for the purchase of furniture for the Johnsburg Library when it opened. The dinner program at Johnsburg Middle School in St. John's was funded by the Rescue Squad Retired Inc. Fund. Food distribution for 6 years through the Northern Illinois Food Bank for needy residents of the area was also provided. Purchase of the Johnsburg Community sign located by the library was provided by the Rescue Squad. $13,000 for a new roof and repairs to the Johnsburg Community Club. The Retired Inc. organization also sold the village of Johnsburg, the original building that currently houses the police department. They offered that property at a reduced cost, financed over 10 years with no interest. And finally, over $150,000 has been provided for the development of this park, which we dedicate today. And now I'd like to introduce Bill Schwartzwell, Project Park Director.
Good afternoon, and thank you for taking part in our day. The village bought this park land in the mid-2000s and thought it would be a good fit for a park in the center of the town and would blend nicely with the community club grounds. In about 2008, they built a large shelter on the north end behind me in the park. About the same time, the rescue squad retired was looking into what to do with their assets, as there would be no new members and the membership was getting old. To dissolve the organization and yet keep the Johnsburg Rescue Squad name around for years to come. The memorial rock at the Rescue Squad building, now the village of Johnsburg Police Department, was used to honor its deceased members, but who would continue to keep this going? The idea came up that we could put money at developing this park if the village would name it the Johnsburg Rescue Squad Memorial Park forever, and we could erect a memorial monument with all its members listed who served the squad through the years. Then the remaining members could see their name on it while they were still living. A meeting was called for on June 16, 2010, at which time it was approved by the members to donate $150,000 for the improvement of this park. The village approved this proposal and the project started. First, the entire park was cleared of all overgrown and wild trees and brush. This parking area where we're sitting now started to be filled in. The entire park graded, detention area made, spot level for an ice rink, drainage addressed, and it was seeded and grass started growing. After the parking lot area was brought up to grade, curbs, sidewalks, and a path for the gazebo were installed. Then the lot was blacktopped and striped. The gazebo was built, bleachers and a flagpole put in. Landscaping was finished, more grass, the brush walks, trees and bushes installed. The memorial monument was set in place and the park was then ready for use. The village, through the Community Affairs Committee, has plans for the future for this park, including putting electric in the shelters, lighting the parking lots and along the paths. This winter they had the ice skating rink here up on the behind us, and it was very well received. But would like to in the future include a warming shelter and washrooms. Other ideas for the future of the park would include a farmer's market, movie night in the park, and possibly a band night. With the future improvements planned for on Church Street, another parking area and park entrance will be constructed on the north end. I would like to thank the village of Johnsburg for allowing the Johnsburg Rescue Squad to be a permanent resident in this park. And for the members of the Johnsburg Rescue Squad for their generous contribution, which will commemorate the Johnsburg Rescue Squad and all its members forever. Thank you. Now Ed Hederman will conclude the program.
Yeah, just looking around, I don't know if I missed anybody else, but when I was introducing local dignitaries and one of our former members who is a trustee for the McHenry Township Fire District, I forgot Bob Meyer. I saw him sitting out there. I apologize, Bob. If there's anybody else in there, also for all the members of the McHenry Township Fire District that are here, showed up, we appreciate you guys showing up and doing what you guys do. I'd also like to read from Representative Jack Frank's 63rd Legislative District of the state of Illinois. Representative Frank secured funds for the North Shelter. They were donated through his efforts, and we're going to have our reception there later. So during the 98th General Assembly, the district recognizes Johnsburg Rescue Squad retired for their time and generous donations to the Rescue Squad Memorial Park and create a safe environment for the citizens of Johnsburg. Thank you and congratulations, Jack Franks. In closing, I'd like to thank you for joining us today. I don't know what those 12 original members were thinking 62 years ago, but I truly believe that they are a big reason that our community is so generous in helping those in need. They truly contributed to making us a red, white, blue community who has instilled our village motto into the minds of men, a hometown of spirit. At this time, I would like to make a few special thank yous for folks who organized today's event. First, our village Facilities and Grounds Supervisor, Bill Schwartzman, who not only dedicated years to our community as a rescue squad member, but also coordinated the development of this park on behalf of the rescue squad of the village. Thank you, Bill. Our village administrator, Ms. Gloria Peters, and her staff, I believe, put on at the North Shelter, setting up food and stuff so we can have our reception afterwards. Third, our police chief, Mr. Keith Von Allman, who's here. To see that these events are safe and comfortable for all our residents and all who attend. And last but equally important as all of them, I have mentioned Mr. Dave Wilcox, our Public Works Director and staff, who are always taking care of all the details of setup, breaking down of these events. I'm very proud of our village employees that I refer to as our A-team and what they accomplish, even though they are small, few in numbers. I thank you for the opportunity you folks have given me to serve as your village president. With that being said, please join us in the shelter at the north for refreshments and reminisce the past and comments on our community's prosperous future. Thank you for coming.